Welcome to the Peaceful Entrepreneur Podcast, where together we're learning how to have peace in the process of everyday business ownership by improving one step at a time how we think and what we do. I'm your host, Amy Stout. I'm realizing that totally unintentionally for my solo episodes, I'm kind of going back and forth between like a practical thing and then here's what I've been going through. And I kind of like it. I kind of like it because I think that this podcast for me is an outlet for what I go through and what I've been experiencing. And I want it to be something that can help you. And I think that the most helpful things sometimes are just like, hey, here's what I'm learning right now. And that's really what this episode is. And that is really what the episode a couple weeks ago that is I'll be happy when. Like that one was really from my heart and something I've been learning and walking through with people. And so is this one. When your plans don't go like you thought, because right now it's April and in March, my plans didn't go like I thought. And that's just like that just happens, right? But what do we do when it happens? So I just wanted to take some time to talk about that with you today, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's experienced this. Probably not the only one who's experienced this in the last month, you know? And so this is just an opportunity to sit down, pretend like we're just having coffee. And let's talk about it. And like I always say, I want to hear back from you. If you want to DM me, if you want to reply to my email, I would absolutely love to hear from you as well. So just to kind of set the stage, you know how much time I took at the beginning of this year to plan. My whole first 3 episodes of the year were all about how I planned for this year. And I did it because I love it. Like I love to plan and I love to dream and I love to think. And so that was super, super fun for me. But the reality is our plans are not always going to go off like we think they will. Like there's a verse, Proverbs 16:9, which says the heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps. So it's like we could plan it all day long, but God already has the actual plan in place. And sometimes what he tells us is in alignment with that. And sometimes it's not. And that's for a reason, because he wants us to learn something, right? So that's kind of what happened to me. So the first 2 months of the year, honestly, were pretty much on track. Like I did what I thought that I would do. I did what I set out to do. And it was great. And then March, it just didn't happen. So I basically had this checklist of things that I wanted to do for increasing the optimization of our internal systems for our business, Abide Outsourcing. And at the beginning of the year, I made this list and I just fully thought that I would be able to tackle it all myself and do it all myself in the first 2 quarters of the year. And in February, there were a couple things left over that I didn't get done that month that I pushed to March. And I kind of made my plan for March for what I was going to tackle. And the stuff just like kept not getting done, kept getting pushed off. And other things kept coming up. I think I've already talked probably quite a bit about like just a lower capacity than normal. I just experienced being tired, not having the mental energy to get myself worked up to be able to do the things on the list. Other things came up that took up my time or took up my energy. And honestly, I just started getting a lot of like things laid on my heart that I felt like I needed to work through and process. Some shifts started coming up in our personal life that weren't happening immediately, but like took and are taking a lot of processing. And so that was on me. There's multiple things going on in our personal life right now that are like, ooh, okay, that's a lot. But then in the business, like I started to have these realizations of like, okay, I'm exhausted and I keep pushing these things off. Like, why? What's going on? Why am I tired? Why am I not getting these things done? What about them is causing me to procrastinate them? And I say it all the time on the podcast, but like as a business owner, you have to give yourself time to think. And I feel like that's just what March turned into. Like it turned into thinking and processing over doing, which is so good now that I look back and think about it. Like I needed to listen to my own advice, like take time to think. And as a business owner, even thinking can sometimes be way more productive than acting. Right? Because you are the driving force behind your business and You have to be the one to have the new ideas. So lesson number 1, looking back, is like, just because it didn't happen like I thought it would, doesn't mean it wasn't still a good month. It doesn't mean it was a throwaway. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means that God had something different for the month than I had in mind. Like, that is like the bare minimum truth of it. But to expound upon that, it's like, oh, like there were things that I needed to realize before I did those things. Or there were things I needed to realize so that I could do the things that I wanted to in a different way. That's what happened to me, is I recognized and just like accepted the tiredness. And I will probably unpack that in a whole nother episode because I'm not out of it yet. And so I'd like to kind of get through it and think about it before I have a whole episode on it. But just to bring you in, like, I am still experiencing this lower capacity and tiredness and running out of steam. And because of that, I realized that I need to bring someone in to help me with this to-do list. And God will make a way. I mean, he wanted it to happen, and he just put someone in my path who was perfect to help me. And so I brought her on. She's a strategy and operations consultant for businesses. And she's going to come in for 3 months and just like deep dive into all of the internal workings of my business and help me make them better and put stuff in place that I'm missing. And the best part is she's doing the work. So I like asked her on our kickoff call, like, how much homework can I expect from this? And she was like, I mean, really, you're just going to be like okaying the stuff that I sent over and doing the stuff that only you can do, like filing your taxes and, you know, all the normal business owner stuff that you still have to do. Like, but that'll be it. And I'm like, oh, this is magical. That I just like, this to-do list gets done, but I am not the driving force behind getting it done, because that has been my life. It's like, I'm the one who has to make this thing happen. And speaking of that, I have identified over this month of processing that I need to have an identity shift, that my identity is far too tied to my production and productivity and not enough tied to just being. And my identity is who I am, who God says I am, and it's not what I do or what I produce or how I show up. So I'm working on that one. And again, another great episode, but I'm just at the very beginning stages of working through it. So, but kind of letting go of this control and hiring someone in is the first step in working on that. So that is one result of the month of deep thinking. And the beautiful part is all of the stuff that I pushed off, like, is still going to get done. And it's also still going to get done in the first half of the year, like I had in mind. It's just not going to get done by me, which I'm not complaining about, because here's the thing. Hiring someone to come in and help you means that they're probably better at it than you. Like, if she is a specialist in strategy and operations, she's going to do way better job setting my stuff up than I ever would, because I don't have that expertise. She has 15 years in corporate experience. She has a master's of business administration. Like, she knows what she's doing. And I'm just over here building the plane as it flies. And so I'm super excited for what this is going to mean for our business. And I'm grateful for the time of reflection and analysis that I was able to take in March. And I think it'll continue, because since my to-do list is lessened now, I'm probably going to be thinking a lot more and journaling a lot more. And that is what needs to be done. Like, I truly feel like I am in a stage where I just need to be more than I need to do. And I just have this craving to like process and think and learn and like do all of the homemaking things. It's so funny because an episode just came out on the Heart and Hustle podcast that was like, girl boss is out, home soft girl era is in, or something. And I was like, I could not relate to anything more. Like, I just want to bake sourdough and like make homemade cold brew and organize my fridge. And like, that is what I want to do. Be with people, cook for people, play music, listen to music. Like, that's what I want to do. And so more on that later. I actually had a really, really big realization last week that kind of plays into that. Again, with all been so many realizations. But it's been good. It's been good. And so I will share more about that realization again in future episodes. Like I said, I'm just in the beginning process of so many of these things, but I'm super, super excited to share about them once they're more fleshed out and once I'm like living in them rather than just looking to them and thinking about them, if that makes sense. So to get back to the plans not going like I thought, I think I struggle with if I didn't check off what was on my to-do list, I wasn't productive. But here's the thing. You're still doing something. Even if you're not doing what you wrote on your list, like something filled that time. And that something was still productive. And so I need to learn that like not checking off doesn't mean not achieving. Wow, that's deep. But it's true. And I achieved a lot. I achieved a lot last month with what I thought about and what I realized and what I did based off of those realizations. And I know it's going to serve me well for the rest of the year. I just met yesterday with my bookkeeper and we were looking toward the rest of the year and she was like, girl, you're doing good. Like you are on track. And so it's like, it didn't derail anything, you know, it took a turn. It looks different than I thought. And that just like puts me in my place. Like I am not God. I don't want to be God. That's a lot of responsibility, right? I am not God. And so who am I? I am God's child. I am God's like hands and feet in the world. And so it puts me back in my place of, okay, this is who I am. Now what am I supposed to do based off of that? So I see exactly what God was doing now that I look back on it. And so I encourage you, if you're in a space where you're like, oh my gosh, this is just not going how I thought. Like once you get to the other side of it, just take a moment to look back and see what he was doing instead of what you thought he was going to do. Because he always is doing something and it always is better than what we could have planned. And that is another theme that is popping up for me a lot right now is the verse that says that the Lord will do abundantly more than we could ask or imagine. And that is just what I feel, that so many things have been happening that it's like, God, wow, like I had this idea, but yours is so much better. I couldn't have even thought of that. But like, wow, you gave it to me. Like, what a blessing. Like truly last week, I cried over how overwhelmed I am by like the prayers that God is answering in our life right now. So I just want to encourage you, if your last month did not go like you thought it would, just take a step back and look at it from another angle. Instead of focusing on what you didn't get done, like I said, think about what you did accomplish that just might not have been on the list. And ask God, like, why did you have that go that way? And what did you want to teach me? And remember that what you did do needed to get done. Like it was more important than what was on your list. So that is a win. And that is something to be excited about. And you were still productive and what you did was good. And we just have to stay in our right position, like I said, and just say our plans are pliable. Our hands are open. Lord, here's what I think. But if you want me to do something different, I'll do it. I'll follow. And so we can't be closed-fisted with our plans and hang so tightly because then we are closing ourselves off to those better plans that God has for us. Yeah, that was a lot. That was just a little bit of a therapy session for you. But all that to say, I'm excited to share about all the exciting things that are happening in our life and in our business. And I'll continue to share just as things unfold. And as I feel the Lord saying, like, it's time to share this, I will do so. So thanks for being part of the Peaceful Entrepreneur community. I have a lot of dreams for the ways that I want to build this community in the future. So look forward to that. I know it's happening. It's one of those things that it's like, I've got the list and I'm waiting on the Lord to tell me the timing. So super excited, but thanks for being here now. It means more than you know that you're listening, and the messages that I get just like absolutely warm my heart to know that what I'm saying and what the people I bring in are saying is impactful to you. So I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. Don't forget to connect with us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and we would love it if you would leave a review wherever you're listening. We'll see you next week for more tips for how to become a peaceful entrepreneur.